Here's what you should learn in the first 7 days on guitar. If you're just starting to learn the guitar for the first time, I'm gonna set you a 7-day goal. We all know how important it is to build habits early. So the first thing you're gonna do for yourself is you're gonna make sure to pick up the guitar every single day. And on each of these 7 days, you're gonna learn a specific thing. Starting with day 1, learning all of the basics of guitar. On day 1 of guitar, it's gonna look like you're holding an alien. You have no idea what anything is, and so it's probably time for you to familiarize yourself with what the guitar is all about. Whether it's acoustic or electric, there's certain parts that you need to know how to use, including the tuning pegs up here to tune your guitars properly, the frets, which are the metal bars running down the neck that let you change the pitch of whatever string you're on, and then either the body cavity or the pickups on an electric guitar, which are designed to help you get volume and sound out of your guitar, with the acoustic just by hitting it over the sound hole that you can see here, and with the electric making sure you have an amp and your pickups are turned on. You probably want to run over the basic techniques of strumming and picking, which is just using your thumb and your first finger to clamp your pick, or if you're not using a pick at all, using the back of your nail or the squishy part of your thumb to create a strummed sound, either going down or up on the guitar and creating little rhythms. You can familiarize yourself with the basics by playing a 1, 2, 3, 4 pattern on the guitar, which will show you how to pluck. That means playing the string that your finger is holding one at a time, and also getting you familiar with the idea of using your fingers one at a time all the way through to your pinky, instead of just using one finger on the guitar, which isn't how you're supposed to play. You're gonna look at the thing, you're gonna learn it, and you're gonna learn all of these fundamental basics about the parts, what they're called, how to use it, but you're probably gonna have a lot of difficulty actually playing it. You should still try to mess around, maybe put your finger on some of the dotted frets and see if you can make the pitch change, run it down the length of the guitar, and play it as much as you feel comfortable with. You still got a lot to learn on how you're actually supposed to play the thing, which is why when you pick it up again by day 2, you're gonna solidify your practice routine. Since you're doing a 7-day guitar challenge, you should probably establish what you're gonna do every time you pick up the guitar, because again, you wanna build good habits. My practice routine on guitar generally consists of doing a warm-up like the spider, which is that 1, 2, 3, 4 pattern plucked all down each string using every single finger all the way through to the end, and then going backwards if you feel like you can handle that. Once your hand is nice and warmed up, you should probably take a couple of chord positions and either learn them if it's your first time, like the G chord, the E minor chord, the C, and the D, and then work on taking your fingers and isolating pairs of those chords, like from C to E minor, and just go back and forth, making sure that you can build your muscle memory. After you feel comfortable with pairs and groups of chords, my practice routine likes to incorporate some strumming, so bringing in some rhythm from your right hand. You can try to just do a simple down strum, but you can also add some ups in there to create a good rhythm, and then try to change the chords on time, which adds another level of difficulty. After you've done a warm-up, you've played your chords, you've done a little bit of rhythm, you should probably pick a song that you can play that's a small riff that you can do on the guitar. Maybe something like Seven Nation Army, which you can pluck on the A string, and give yourself a chance to practice your notes, leaving the fun part of guitar, learning new songs, at the end that you can play as long as you still feel happy, and then call it a day on your practice routine. This is a practice routine that you're going to use every day, but you're going to set yourself a specific goal for day number 3. Because it lines up pretty nicely, you're going to try to learn 3 riffs on day 3. It's not as difficult as you think. There's a lot of riffs on the guitar that you can play with just one finger on one string. I recently put out a video on my YouTube and my TikTok channel showing you 10 different riffs that you can play with just one finger. So maybe pick a few riffs you can play, like Eye of the Tiger, that Seven Nation Army song, or even something like the song 25 or 6 to 4 by Chicago on the 5th fret. The 3 riffs can go as in-depth as you want, but because it's just day 3 of learning the guitar, you don't have to learn 3 completely new songs, just 3 riffs. So that can be small phrases that get you excited, and if you find one of the riffs really speaks to you or is a riff that you get really excited about, you can continue to learn that song in the future and look at it as a brand new way to branch out after these first 7 days. On day number 4, you're going to learn, practice, and try to master 3 different strumming patterns. You know that you're going to need strumming patterns for the future, rhythms that you can take out of your back pocket and apply to chords. And my 3 favorite rhythms to teach I call the rock rhythm, the folk rhythm, and the pop rhythm, because you'll see these rhythms applied to countless numbers of songs with those different sounds. So you can start by practicing, memorizing, and mastering the rock rhythm, which is just a simple down, 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 up pattern. And you need to make sure with rhythms that you don't just get the right number of notes, but also that you get them in the right direction, down or up, and that you get them spaced correctly. The down up at the end is faster than the first 3 downs. So you have down, 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 up. The folk or country style rhythm is just a little variation on that. You start with down, then you do down up, then you do down, and then you do down up again. So you have a down, down, up pattern. If you find that pretty trivial, you can try to speed it up. Because I saved the hardest for last, the pop rhythm, which is probably the most difficult to play, but it's also the most useful because it's probably the #1 guitar strum in the world. It sounds a little something like this. It's a down, down, up, down, up pattern. With every one of these strumming patterns, you try to loop it all the way through and create a rhythm. You want to get strumming patterns to the point where you're not thinking about them so that you can focus your entire attention on the chords with your left hand rather than just on the strumming pattern with your right. As you're picking up your guitar for day number 5 and running through your normal practice routine, today you're going to focus on playing one entire strumming song. This might seem kind of crazy because I didn't make you play a complete plucked song like we did with the 3 riffs on day 3, but one complete strumming song is actually pretty easy. You can play a lot of different songs that are just 4 chords repeated over and over with one strumming pattern. I have lists on my channel of these different songs, but you could take something like Zombie by the Cranberries, which is a really nice song to learn that just uses the G chord, the D chord, the E minor chord, and the C chord. This also uses a very interesting strumming pattern that's all downs but accented, which means made louder on certain beats. So you might play like down, 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 down. The challenge here is not to just learn 4 chords and play them in order. You might have been able to do that on day 1. The challenge here is to try to get those transitions clean enough and fast enough that you can play at the speed of the original song. You might even try to play along with a YouTube video version of it, and that you can maintain those transitions for the entire 3-minute length of whatever song that you're trying to play. It's actually pretty hard to do. It's going to put your hands through regular paces and get you into the muscle memory of playing real, full, complete songs with strummed chords. On day number 6, you're going to learn a very important thing, your first guitar scale. Scales are how we play melody in music, and it's also what guitar players use to create guitar solos. Eventually down the line, you'll probably want to play some type of melody, even if you're not a guitar solo kind of person. You can prepare yourself for the things that guitar players might play by learning scales, which you can use as exercises, and also ways to create your own melodies and even improvise. First scale that I teach my students is dead easy. It's just 2 notes per string, and you can start on this low E string, starting with the 0, and then going to the 3rd fret on that string. Every single time you go to another string, you just play the open note, and then you play one of the frets. On the A string, it's the 2nd fret. The next string down, you go 0, and then you do 2 again. Then you do 0, and then 2 again. Then you do 0 and 3, and then 0 and 3. So the entire pattern is open 3, open 2, open 2, open 2, open 3, open 3. With scales, you want to learn how to play them forwards and backwards by going the opposite direction all the way back down to the open string you started. This scale is called the E minor pentatonic scale. It's actually a very popular and famous scale, and a lot of guitar songs use this scale, so you'll want to be familiar with it. You'll want to know it in and out. Scales aren't just played from the bottom all the way up to the top every time. They're often mixed and matched. Some of the notes can be played out of order, so you might want to play the scale out of order or test it out to see what would it be like to use this scale to create melody. Also an E minor scale, which means that it pairs well with your E minor chord. You might say that it's a part of the key of E minor, which you can learn about later on in your guitar career, but that also means that your E minor chord and your E minor scale will go pretty well together. So you could play one after the other, or you could try to see if one guitar player friend you have can play the E minor chord while you play the E minor scale to get nice melodies and sounds out. This is also a good place for you to practice your slides, vibrato, bends, hammer-ons, pull-offs, and everything that you're probably going to learn in the future on guitar. Make sure to remember this scale because it's a great place to start for learning those things. Now you finally made it to day 7. You're running through your practice routine. You're probably playing your new pentatonic scale and maybe your Zombie Cranberries song that you just learned in the couple of days prior. But you're going to end it with something that I hope sticks with you for the rest of your life, which is the way that music is organized. On day 7, you're going to try to count all of the notes on your guitar. Seems like a crazy task and maybe something that doesn't sound very fun at all, but trust me, it's important. All you really need to know to figure this out is to learn the musical alphabet, the order that notes go in music. In music, we use the letters A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, and then in between almost every letter, we have sort of a half note that you can call a sharp or a flat. So for example, if you have the note A, which you can play on the open A string of your guitar, believe it or not, when you go one note up, you're going up the alphabet. The note in between A and B, or the next note right above A, is this little half note we might call A sharp. And then we go from that A sharp to the next note, which would be B. So we can see a sequence of A, A sharp, and then B, allowing us to fill out our musical alphabet all the way down the line. You would like to be able to put a sharp note in between every single letter. That would be the most logically consistent, but it turns out that the B note does not have a sharp in front of it. It just goes directly to C. Then you go C sharp, D, D sharp, and it turns out the E note also doesn't have a sharp in between it to F. So you just go directly from E to F. And if you can remember those two little inconsistencies, the B note and the E note do not have sharps, you can then do your entire musical alphabet, which allows you to label and count all of your music notes on the guitar. You can take this A string and count all the way up, and it should look a little something like this. A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, and after G and G sharp, you get back to the letter A. Your alphabet then starts to loop. This is how music works on every single instrument and on all of the strings of your guitar, provided that you're starting on the pitch that the note is tuned to. If it's an E string, you're starting in the middle of your alphabet, and you need to go E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A, and so on as the alphabet loops. If you can internalize that information and memorize the musical alphabet by day 7, including all of these other tips that I've given you, you'll be well on your way to being a great guitar player. And hopefully my videos can help you out on your journey there. Make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel at Official Will Ash, or follow me on TikTok. All these different platforms, I put out videos every single day that are helpful to beginner, intermediate, and advanced guitar players. If you appreciate my work, you can also support me on my Patreon account or by listening to my original music on Spotify. You can look at everything with the link in my bio. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you for the next one.